All right, super excited to be back live again. And today we want to talk about what it takes to get a Scrum Master job in 2023. Let me say it from a different angle. What do you need to do in 2023 in order to land yourself a Scrum Master job? But then we are also going to be covering aspect uh, that's going to help those who are already in the field, right? You agree with me that our sessions are always very impactful. I'll definitely like to stay very strict to our time. We're going to take about 30 or 45 minutes, not too long. And within the first 15 minutes, I want to share my opinion. It might be different. You might be doing something that is working for you. That is great. I'll definitely share what is working for me and my team, and you definitely might want to learn or benefit a lot from there. So, let's get started for today. And when you join, please just click the like button, share, and let me know where you're joining in from so that I can give you a shout out. All right, without wasting much time, let's look at the topic for today. What should you be doing? Someone in the process of uh, landing your first position as a Scrum Master. Or if you're already in the market, what should you also be doing? It's a very close relationship for those who are already in, and at the same time, for those who are uh, actually job hunting, right? Now, the difference, which I often say for those who are in and for those who are out, is that those who are in have a more practical advantage and they can be able to look at how things work practically. But those who are out need to be doing already what they should do when they get in. In that way, anytime they get in, they don't feel like, oh, it's a completely different world. All right. So I'm going to list four things I think that every anticipated Scrum Master should focus on, should pay attention to. Number one, I call it alignment with the Scrum processes or with agile product delivery. So the first thing every Scrum Master anticipating to land themselves a job, they should understand what is the end-to-end process in agile product delivery. I'm going to talk about that. The second thing they should understand, not just to understand what are the different steps engaged, they need to understand the different processes engaged in agile product delivery. And the third thing, they move down to understand some of the practice and the practical scenarios of what becoming a scrum master or what working as scrum master is all about. And the last thing, which is the most important to me, it might be the least important, is the fact that you need to always retrospect. This is something we don't do a lot. We don't sit back and take our time and look at what has been working well for us, or what is one thing I did that actually really helped me, and how can I also take advantage of that. So let's look at this scenario and look at how we can all learn from it. The first thing, which is about aligning yourself with agile product delivery. Now, every Scrum Master should not only understand the Scrum Guide, right? The Scrum Guide is an awesome guide. I do accept that. But beyond that, there are so many things the Scrum Guide actually leave out. For those who are already working as Scrum Master, you agree with me that if you were just to go with what the Scrum Guide says, you're going to be very limited at work. The first concept for you is to understand when an enterprise or a company says that we are doing agile, what meaning does that bring to you? Or what sense can you make of that? Now, agile, it's a mindset. We all know the definition, right? And this mindset is implemented by different strategies. core framework. It can be Scrum, it can be Safe, it can be Kanban, it can be less, it can be um, extreme programming, all the different strategies that are being put together to implement Scrum. But for you as a person in the field, although these frameworks are important, you need to understand that for a company to say, you know what, we're thinking of going agile, is because they have done an evaluation and they have seen that it is possible for them to deliver the product to the client incrementally. All right. Because the value or the principles of agile is to, number one, focus on the customer, focus on delivering value to the customer, and then delivering this value incrementally. And that is why we plan in smaller circles. So when we understand that agile help us to plan in smaller circles, focus on the customer value and deliver incrementally, then there should be something that is guiding us on how to effectively deliver incrementally to the client. So the end-to-end value in SAFe, we call that the value stream, which every Scrum Master should understand is that when a company says we agile, the first idea that should come to your mind is like, okay, if they're agile, it means that they have a process to deliver the product to their client in an incremental manner. When we talk about an increment, it simply means that we can give them one part, work on the other part, and continuously deliver to the client. This information helps you a lot to understand when we say that we're having a sprint planning, when we are having a daily stand up, when we are having a retrospective, when we're having a review. What are we actually doing in all of these events? Or why do we need to have all of these events repeatedly? It's because we have divided the product that we need to deliver to the client in different sections. So in every section, which is planned to be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, based on the company, we need to come and evaluate the part that will be delivered during that period. So the end to end product. So when this information help you, let's say that you work as a Scrum Master with West Fargo, and West Fargo is actually inventing a new form of bank card that will only be in your phone, and you don't need, let's say, physical card in your hand. Now, if they say we're using agile, your understanding would be, all right, if they're using agile, it means that there are different components in creating the system that get into a digital wallet in which you don't have to use your card. And now you start understanding why would they need a very long period? Can we not just do this in 1 week? Can we not just do this in 2 weeks? Now it start giving you an understanding to understand how large a solution can be. This get us to the question where a lot of people, when they call it like, oh, how long can we implement a Scrum project? Right. Building for enterprise company, just adding one functionality can take us even several months. Let's say that we want to build contactless payment, right? It's not just about maybe like putting something on one spot. We need to take into consideration the security. We need to take into consideration issue when it comes to taxation. We need to take into consideration so many users, and all of that need to be built into the system. If not, if we immediately complete that, what's going to happen? People will take advantage and will see that, oh, the system is broken, the system is hacked. So a lot of time is taken to ensure that built-in quality is involved in the process. Now that's a bigger picture. Now, the second thing every Scrum Master should understand is that when we understand that we are delivering a product to our client incrementally, the second aspect should be like, how do we do it? Is it even possible to do that incrementally? And that is when different strategies come into place. We have Scrum, Safe, Kanban, Less. So if a company says that our agile approach to deliver to our client is Kanban, now you already have an idea of what to expect. If they say that our strategy is Scrum, you have an idea. If they say that our strategy is Safe, you have an idea. Now, what are the differences between Scrum, Safe, or Kanban? Or at what point does a company make a decision if they want to deliver with Safe, they want to deliver with Kanban, they want to deliver with Scrum? Now, let's start with Scrum. Scrum is a lightweight framework, right? Which means that if we have about two or three teams that are collaborating to work on the project, we can easily use Scrum. Scrum is not really complicated. It pays attention to the team, and then there's a product owner and the product manager, and that is good. Right. Now, if the system or the solution we're building is very large and need multiple teams to work together, more than five teams to work together, the organization will start considering using SAFe. And SAFe help in delivering solution in an enterprise manner. And SAFe now bring in different configuration to say, all right, we know there is a Scrum team, right? And that's why I always say, for those who are in safe environment, you also do Scrum. You cannot do safe without doing Scrum. So safe is not a separate entity from Scrum, right? Safe is part of Scrum. It's just that it implements Scrum at a team level, and then at program level, it now organizes Scrum team into agile release train, and at solution level into solution release train, and another large level called a portfolio. It just has so many different components that makes it a bit complex, but still very interesting to use. And now, if a company says they're using Safe, it gives you an idea on how large the solution they are building is. If they say they're using Kanban, it gives you an idea to say, okay, these people are not really so much interested in maybe incremental delivery. They're more interested in organizing their work and visualizing it, or they're more interested in monitoring the progress. Right. So this the processes in which the different company are using gives you an idea. Now we're looking at the background of Scrum. And this background is what gives you the courage. When you have this background, when you're studying, you're more confident because you know exactly what you're studying. If not, you're going to be looking at spring planning and just reading spring planning just to master the process. Okay, spring planning, I do my capacity, spring planning. What next? I introduce my PO, you completely be lost. But if you look at spring planning and say, okay, the reason we're planning for 2 weeks is because we are delivering in smaller section. So my goal for spring planning will be to ensure that I know exactly what need to be delivered in my next increment, and I can work with my product owner to prioritize my backlog and just make sure that all my team know exactly what they're doing. Now you have explained spring planning without going to a step-by-step boring processes. One advice for those who are taking interviews: interviewers do not really want to hear so many break down boring processes. I always inform my team members that use use a 2 minute a 2 minute timer to evaluate to see if you're actually staying within a specific zone. Now, when you start talking for more than 2 minutes, trust me, you're definitely going to be talking things that doesn't make sense. Now, the approach to answering a question, it's introduction, body, closing. All right, I'm going to come to that when we get to our question and answer session. Okay. And The third thing which you should be doing if you are in the job market and you are not practicing, which means that you don't find yourself in a community where you can learn how to create a project. You don't even need to be in a community, but I encourage being in a community because you cannot do Scrum by yourself, right? So you need to be part of a team because when you get a job, you're going to be working with a team. So you need to be part of a team to start learning how to interact with a team. Right. You need to practice. You need to get yourself embedded in a team. If you don't have the resources to get into a team, you definitely might know a couple of other people who are also practicing, right? You can decide to and pull them together and like, how do we create a Scrum project from scratch? Let's say that we want to build a payment gateway for this company. How can we deliver this by Scrum? By you start thinking practically, it brings so much reality to you. It brings so much reality. You can be able to understand and kind of visualize. Like your ability to get past an interview is not just on answering questions, it's how you can visualize the practicality in a different environment and how you can use what you're exposed to kind of navigate where you're going to. Right. And the third aspect is what? Retro. All right. I always say this and I say this all the time. Like, if after 3, 4 months of doing something over and over and over and over again, nothing is working, it means that you are doing something that is not right. And it's also kind of a bit surprising that uh, when we are learning from the Scrum framework or we are learning from the Agile perspective, one of the key concept is relentless improvement, but it's kind of difficult for us to implement this. So, in a key summary, and I know you have questions, you can go ahead and start answering your questions. In a key summary, the things that you need to pay attention to: number one, understand agile product delivery, right? End to end. When does an organization make a decision if they need to use agile or not? And if they make a decision, what are the things they need in order to deliver a project using agile? Now, this one will help you answer a lot of leadership questions where they're going to ask you, how do you support your management? When you do that, you go ahead to master the processes. When would they make a decision to use safe? When would they make a decision to use Scrum? When would they make a decision to use Kanban? That also go in detail to give you another in-depth of analysis on how the corporate operate. Why some says, oh, we are looking for someone with a safe background, and some say we're looking for someone with a Scrum background, and some say we're looking for someone with a Kanban background. In safe, if you work at program level and portfolio level, most of them use Kanban because the goal is just to visualize how the futures are flowing across the board. And then the practice, 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 practice. Very important. Practice until you get it right. It's definitely not difficult. The biggest challenge I've seen for people who actually give up along the way is because they get discouraged. They're not seeing how they're getting themselves closer, so they kind of give up. And the reason why you're practicing is to evaluate yourself, retrospect, and then kind of bounce back. Now, my last point, you can start putting your question in the chat box. If you have any question, I'm definitely going to take out about the next 20 minutes to address any question that you might have. My last point is also uh, your resume, right? Now, when I talk about your resume, it's a very important aspect in the process. And one common mistake a lot of people make is that they have what do they call it? They have their resume, their paper resume, different from their LinkedIn profile. That's a very big gap. When you apply for a job, about 99, I would say almost all recruiters will go look you up on LinkedIn. Why? Because that's your professional resume. So you must appear in LinkedIn professionally and make sure that you don't have duplicated LinkedIn profile, and make sure that your your resume is aligned to your LinkedIn profile. If not, every time you submit for an interview, you will not get a call back. They just check and realize that there's a lot of discrepancy. Right. And one of the point, number one thing you want to pay attention for every person watching me is your LinkedIn profile. Right. Your LinkedIn profile must be a professional photo. Your LinkedIn profile must be a professional photo, a headshot, right? Your from shoulder up. So if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, shoulder up, solid background, no distraction in the background, you need to go rework on your LinkedIn profile. All of these things are taken into consideration, right? Your first impression matters a lot because it tells people about your professionality. So you want to make sure that you are taking note of that, and also looking at all the other different components. You can go check my LinkedIn profile and you can use that as a sample to be able to build your look at the way it is structured from end to end. Right now, the way it's structured. Why I say go look at my LinkedIn profile, because I get people reaching out day in day out on, oh, we have a job offer. I'm not applying, right? But I get people reaching out every day, every day. It means there is something right there. That's something that's working. But if yours is working the way it is, definitely you don't have to fix what has not been broken. Okay, perfect. So throw in your questions and let's see how we can help you close some of the gap on what you might be going through. And I want to give a shout out to all my beautiful people. Coach Stanley, I see you right there. Hello, Carmen Kingsley. Uh, Hello, Peter. Hello, Imboni, Cheyenne. I see you joining from Dallas. Hello to all my Dallas compatriot. Binta from North Carolina. Thank you for joining. And we see Atengene from Maryland. Irene from MB. Atanga from Edmonton. Hello. Go ahead and drop your question, and I'm going to use the next 20 minutes to address them. And hello to all of those, everyone joining. I might not be seeing everyone in here, but time to do question and answer. All right, before we do question and answer, we're running a safe certification training this weekend. Friday, it start at 4 p.m. Central Time, Saturday, 2 p.m. Central Time. So if you want to be part, simply send me a text message. I want to be part of it. We have some special discount going on. I'm just going to add my number. It's going to go across the screen. You can also send me an email. And for those who are already working Scrum Master and you want to up your game, my next recommendation for you would be to get a release train engineer certification. That's the next big thing coming in now. And we have a training for Arrow TE for release train engineer coming up first week of March. So you can also send me a text to get more detail on how to be part of that training. All right. So the first question come from okay, Talisa. Talisa say my first interview is tomorrow. I'll be watching. Okay, good luck, Talisa. I will pray that your interview will go well. Uh, do Scrum Master need to have technical skill? In my last interview, the interviewer asking me a lot about technical questions. What are some of the technical questions you were being asked? Can you share with us? Let's see. Okay, there are some questions which we consider technical, but they are not technical. For instance, if you're being asked what type of tools or what type of technology stack your team was using, it's not a technical question. You cannot tell me that you've worked with your team for, you've been a Scrum Master for 5 years and you don't understand that, all right, if we're doing back end programming, we need to use Python or Java, or you cannot tell me that, or you were doing cloud migration and you can tell me, oh, my team was using SQL. So these are things that you definitely have to know automatically, right? And so a bit on that before I start answering this question. When you say you've worked in a company, these are the stuff I expect from you. I expect you to know the business environment, what the team doing. I expect you to know the project you were working on. For instance, what product was your team building? And I expect you to know the different features your team were building. And I expect you to know what type of tools, like technology tools, was your team. If you say you had a back end, front end DevOps engineer, know at least the tools that they are using, right? And I expect you to also understand a bit about the environment. This is very important. And then for if you have tester in your team, you also should read a bit about what are the different kind of tests that they can perform, like understanding the difference between user acceptance testing, understanding the difference between smoke testing, and all of those different type of testing. Just read a bit; it wouldn't hurt. Just get one word from there. Sometimes they're not asking too much. At least you should pick one of the word that your team is using technically. All right. Does the connection you have help get the job? Okay. Does the connection I have get the job? It help you know what to do and know how to get the job. But we don't get the job for you. We teach you what you need to get a job. Now, what does everyone need to get a job? You need an interview, right? If you're getting an interview and you're not getting a job, then it means that you have to work on yourself, right? It doesn't mean that there's something you're doing wrong. And I always tell everyone, treat an interview like a conversation, right? So treat an interview like a conversation. And my team understand that uh, we help you to know exactly what to do when you get on the job. So the problem here is not even getting the job. The problem is in knowing what to do. If you know what to do, trust me, getting a job will not be a problem. Okay, and let's look at. All right, Tengere, can you resend that text message again using my number? Sometime probably I did miss that. Um, okay, questions such as test-driven development. Now, test-driven development is not a technical question, right? Test-driven development, behavior-driven development, these are concepts you need to know as a Scrum Master. DevOps or DevOps culture are not technical questions. Now, test-driven development, uh, in a very simple way, not to confuse you, simply means that our goal is to make sure that the product we are building pass a specific test. Right. Let me use an example. If we want to build something like a smoke alarm or a smoke sensor, right? We need to apply the concept of test driven. We want to make sure that if we send out smoke, is it gonna make it alarm? Yes. So that's it. We want it to pass a particular test. It can be also that can also be a behavior, but a behavior driven development and test driven development. These are aspects that are incorporated in building futures. Right. Let's say that I have here a phone with me. Now, if I want to open my phone, number one, maybe if I bring it close to my face, it automatically open. That's a behavior. But then while we are building the futures, we need to kind of put tests around it to check and see that if this behavior is performed, if it goes through this process, is it going to behave this way? So we need to make sure that we write many test cases and ensure that that feature validate that. So in that case, we're talking about test-driven development. Thank you, Mr. Tanga. Your videos are powerful and really encouraging. I have been following you for over a year now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, and we are also preparing to get more powerful videos. I'm looking forward in the next cycle, probably by the end of this month. My goal is to start working with other agile leaders making big changes, kind of just interviewing them to look at what they're looking for when they're talking to candidate, right? I want to bring that information right up to you so that you can know what to expect when you get on those interviews. So that's my next phase, to talk to most of these tech guys and like, what are you guys really looking for when you interview people? Okay. Uh, I recently got uh contact for a job this afternoon, but okay, my resume doesn't quite have that gut feel. What do I need to do? Okay, Kinsey, what you need to do to close that gap? Kinsey, I guess if you have my number, send me a message. I definitely might be able to look at this and advise personally what to do. Your team velocity drop over the course of several sprints. What do you do? Okay, that's a question from Cecilia. This is a situational question, right? And what you do with situational question is that I always advise provide an analytical answer. Don't just go ahead and say, okay, I am going to do XYZ. So I will answer this question by saying that if this happened, number one, it tells me that I'm not paying attention to my team performance, because if it's dropping over several sprints and I've not taken any action, it's a weakness on my part. But then, if I come across this situation, so the first thing is I'm going to do a disclaimer that, okay, I've not actually have this, because you cannot be a scrum master. And although it happens to many scrum masters, and yeah, and your velocity keep dropping, and you cannot do anything to help, right? One of the reasons why sometimes it's even difficult for you to help is because most Scrum environment are still waterfall environment, where managers just throw things in and out, and then they expect you to do magic. Where Scrum Master don't even have an idea of where the product roadmap is, what's the release plan, but they expect them to do magic to help up. So it can still happen in a real environment. So if this happen, a couple of reasons might be the team is not estimating rightly. It might be that the requirements are changing so rapidly in such a way that the team cannot focus, which means by the time the team is building this feature, they're pulling them out to work on something else. They're pulling them out to work on another aspect. So because of that, it becomes very difficult for them to focus. These are some of the possible reasons. So in that case, if a team doesn't have a good velocity, things that you can do to help a team have good velocity: number one, you need to be able to help them ensure that they are estimating rightly. Number two, ensure that they are not over committing. And then number three, I want to make sure that communication and collaboration is very effective. If it's not effective, I probably might introduce some KT session, knowledge transfer session. Maybe every Friday we might have about 30 minutes. One person share what is working for them. I can also leverage the retrospective to be able to address this problem. Now, retrospective are not only meant to look at what went where, what went wrong, and all of that. Retrospective, you can pick out retrospective just to address a specific problem that you have seen occur over and over again. So if I do a fix on all of this, definitely my team velocity will get more better. In a situation where management is the cause, which means that pulling people out and they're not allowing me to deliver, there's nothing you can do. I've seen situations like that. There's definitely nothing you can do. Yeah. How do you address new requirement in the middle of the sprint? All right, very important question. In the middle of the sprint, remember, Scrum says that what we welcome changes even in the last minute. So every time a change come in, there's a new requirement come in, you need to work with your team to evaluate how urgent is this requirement, to prioritize it. If it's something that uh, is very important. And if we don't start working it on it right away, it can cost us a lot of, it can cost the business a lot. We reprioritize, we drop any other thing else and start working on it. But if we evaluate and we realize that we can jump on it immediately at the end of the sprint, then we do that. So it's all about evaluation. It's just for you to understand that if new requirements come in, we need to evaluate them. We need to evaluate the business value. We need to evaluate the priority. Can it wait? Can it not wait? And then from there, we advise on what is the next level. All right. So I think we've gone through all the questions we had for today. It was exciting, except another question is coming. It was always exciting coming online and to share. Um, Saturday at midday Central Time. I'll come live again on Saturday at midday Central Time. That's gonna be purely for question and answer. So you can put most of your question and answer and bring them on Saturday. I'll create about 45 minutes to 1 hour just to look at how I can address your question. For anyone, if you're struggling getting a job and you need support, you can definitely reach out to our team or reach out to me. Just send me a private message. We can definitely look at how to help you. Otherwise, it's a learning space for all of us. And if I find any information that will definitely help you, trust me, I'm going to share it in my next video, right? So I see everyone on the other side. Thank you very much for joining today.